Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for July 25th, 2025. I'm Benji Fisher, sharing my screen and moderating. And we also have Ralph Kohler and Simo Helston. Thanks for you both for joining. Today, I'd like to go back to issue 3370326, refine labels and descriptions for field types. Let me give you a link to my test site in the Zoom chat. As usual, you can log in as admin. And just for the sake of the recording, let's give some context. What this issue is about. Navigate content types, manage fields. So when you create a new field, this modal window pops up. And I think we've made some changes to the text here. But more importantly, it's the following pages in this process. So this is plain 11.x without the merge request applied. So this is what users see now. These descriptions are totally useless. They do not help you decide which field type or which type of entity you want to reference. So this issue is about reviewing all of the interface text in all of these possibilities, making it more useful and also more consistent. So in Slack, I asked the usability maintainers, Emma Horrell and Christina Chumias, whether they might be able to come up with some user testing for this. And Emma replied yesterday, I think. So let's see, she first referenced this issue, this postponed issue 3526383. Oh, and I guess this comment is something that she copied into the Slack thread. So I guess these are the questions we have to answer. I don't know whether we want to answer them in Slack or on this issue or on the other issue or both. But one way or another, we have to address those questions. So this issue 3526383 is postponed. It's postponed on the first issue, and it's to add the option to customize the order of field types in field type groups. Oh, Ralph, you opened this issue, so I guess the question is, in the example we were looking at, whether you can add a weight so that these are ordered in a particular way.
It was mainly about if you go one step back, please, and go into formula text, for example. At the moment, those are sorted alphabetically, and that way, currently we have text formatted, then text formatted long, and text formatted long with summary. And with the new microcopy and the updates, we suggested basically the most complex, like for example, formatted long with summary are the first entry, and text formatted would be the last. And that was mainly the reason for that issue. So basically, yeah, the order is alphabetically, but through the formulation, like in the original one, it's basically also in order in complexity. And that isn't reflected with the
Okay.
changes.
So, so this issue is about being able to change the order in which things show up
Mm,
rather
Not
than always alphabetizing.
not necessarily. I think the idea for us back then was basically to get the same order we currently have.
I see.
Um, but not sure. But yeah, also having the option to order might be also good. It's it's a start for the issue.
Um, do we have time for a digression?
Sure.
I'm sharing my screen so I can do this because something very similar came up recently. Um, and it wasn't about toolbar height, tabs. All right. Here it is. So it's already back to needs review. Um, so is there a screenshot here? Yes. So someone noticed that in earlier versions of Drupal 10.5.1 and 11.1, when you edit a taxonomy term, the tabs are in the familiar order: view, edit, delete, revisions. But currently in Drupal 11.2, view comes first, but then the others are alphabetized: delete, edit, revisions. Um, I tracked that down. Oh, I forgot to say, for the sake of recording, this is issue 3535332. I tracked that down to a recent change, which alphabetized things, these tasks, if they don't have a weight applied. And that's certainly what caused this issue. So the initial change for this issue was to add weights to the YAML file to restore the previous order of the tabs. So that's why I was reminded of it by what you just said, Ralph, that that you want to be able to restore the order of options when selecting a field. In this particular issue, it looks as though no one ever considered translations. And it turns out that the recently fixed issue um, alphabetizes before translating, which is fine if you're English, but I think adds to the confusion if you're looking at it in another language. And in fact, I argued that the other option of translating first and then alphabetizing is equally bad, because then the order of the tabs will depend on the language, and you might have different editors using different languages on the same site. Or one editor sometimes editing in one language and sometimes in another. And I think it would be a bad idea to have the order change depending on the language.
Yep.
So, so I actually argued um, for just undoing that recent change and not alphabetizing at all. So I guess I must be the last one who did anything on this issue. Yeah, my comment is the last. I moved it to needs review, and and I made a new merge request. But anyway, end of digression. Um, so why don't I copy these questions to the other issue and answer them here? Does that make sense?
The only question I have is basically if Emma posted a question on that particular issue, if those questions refer to that issue, or are they in general for the overall issue, the
Oh, well,
parent.
we'll see, but I think they're fairly generic questions.
Yeah.
Um, there might be some parts that will have to be changed. It looks as though she used some sort of non-ASCII characters for bullet points rather than making a proper ordered list. So copied over. Okay, so Emma wrote, uh, following up on a suggestion to do user testing on this, to design a test, I would need to know type of Drupal user likely to use this functionality and therefore impacted by a change to the interface. So that's certainly a generic question that applies to this issue as well.
Yeah.
Typical scenario in which the user would encounter this interface. And the example, I think, is particular to the other issue, when they would need or want to change the order field types in field type groups. Um, Desirable outcome from the scenario and problem the change in interface has addressed. E.g., we want to ensure the Drupal user can distinguish between field types and field groups, because not being able to do so would result in, and then she's not sure, so she puts in brackets, what are the tangible negative consequences of the problem not being addressed? Reviewing the comments above, so I guess that also applies to the other issue. It seems our caller has gained input on target Drupal users the changes would impact. So I'm not sure if further testing is still required, and if so, which unresolved questions this would seek to address. Um, I think in the consequence of this issue, I'm just going to remove that line. Does that seem okay?
I think so.
I'll put in a dot, dot, dot to indicate that
Yeah.
I'm abbreviating her. So,
About the last point, distinguishing between field types and field groups, that is basically already in, I post the link in the chat. Another postponed issue, issue number 3526305, make field types and field groups distinguishable.
and Zoom is being difficult. So as we said, 3526385, make field types and field groups distinguishable. Um, so this is the issue where, for example, when I click on plain text, I got those three options. If I click on link, I don't, because that's a single field. It's not a group of fields. If I click on Boolean, again, it's a single field, not a group of fields, and there's no indication of that. Um, that's what this issue is about, right?
Exactly.
Um, okay, so getting back to this issue, let's try to address these questions in the context of this issue. So for this issue, okay, the type of Drupal user likely to use this functionality. Um, a site builder creating a new site or adding functionality or adding features to an existing site. Um, oh, use this functionality. And adding features or adding functionality are roughly synonymous, but I'm using functionality to refer to the functionality affected by this issue.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think I have to repeat anything about and therefore be impacted by a change to the interface. Do you?
So basically, there would be two different kinds of site builders. So there would be that kind of those site builders who are very familiar with Drupal and know which type they want to add, and then need to find that one. And then there are people, site builders, who have an understanding of what kind of functionality they want, but they don't know how Drupal handles it.
Or maybe even a third group of people that are not familiar with tech at all and also new to Drupal. So the basic Drupal CMS use case.
I don't know. I think, Ralph, you're making a distinction between less experienced and much less experienced. I don't, is that really a useful distinction?
I mean, if you have someone who is familiar with certain concepts and terminology, but not familiar with Drupal is one thing. But if you have someone who is not familiar with any of those concepts, and also not familiar with Drupal, but someone who wants to have a CMS and start off their journey. So I think it's a not very common, but likely use case.
All right. So less experienced users, including those who do not have a lot of technical knowledge, need more guidance in deciding which field type to use. I will turn this into a bulleted list, but for now I'm just putting in a new line. Typical scenario in which the user would encounter this interface.
Adding a field to a content type.
Right, and it's really the only scenario, so I won't even call it the typical scenario. I'll call it the scenario where this issue comes up is when adding a new field to a content type or a taxonomy term, paragraph type, or other entity type. And the desirable outcome from the scenario and the problem the change has addressed. So the changes in this issue, I think, are mostly are mostly aimed at the less experienced user. Do you agree?
Yeah.
I already wrote that experienced users care more about efficiency, completing the task in fewer clicks, and that's not what we're targeting with these changes. This issue aims to improve the experience for less improve the experience for less experienced users. That's a little bit awkward just because it uses the word experience twice. Um, to improve, let's just reword it entirely to help less experienced users. The updated text should help them choose the right type of field without having too much trial and error.
But just one remark from the experience where I've asked people, attendees in meetups, and all those were experienced users, and all for them there were also details they didn't know or were or where the microcopy created follow-up questions on their end. So also more experienced users could benefit or get something out of it.
Okay, let me add that as a comment outside of what's going to be
Yeah.
a bulleted list. Kohler has brought up, brought up this issue at meetups that include.
One second, I just look up the issue, the comment numbers, and then you could reference them. Comment number 51.
Can you put that into the Zoom chat so
Yeah.
that even fairly experienced users are not aware of some of the information that we have added while working on this issue. And are those comments on this issue?
Yeah.
See comments. One. Yeah. Somehow every time I shift, I'm likely to get a Q. 3 on this issue. Okay. And make that a bulleted list. And let's preview. Oh, that's right. The preview doesn't show the list. That's one of those things that is not going to be fixed because in the not too distant future, we're going to abandon issues on Drupal.org and switch to GitLab issues. Anyway, you can clearly see in my comment, I hope. Yes, clearly see that I made it an unordered list, but it just doesn't show up in the preview. Does that look good?
Yeah.
Okay, in that case, I'll hit save on my comment. And you won't see this since I'm only sharing my browser window, but I'm going to reply to Emma in Slack. Um, Emma, I copied your questions to paste in the link and answer them there. Okay. So we have spent a whole lot of time on this issue, and I want to keep pushing for the next step. I also on Slack asked Aaron if he'd be willing to review the changes from the point of view of a developer, but so far he hasn't answered. In fact, I haven't heard from Aaron in quite a while. But if I suppose if we can get some user testing done, then that might be what we need to get someone interested in doing a technical review of the code changes.
For user testing, I think maybe cases where there is like that kind of cases are testable, where the user knows what the target is for that, what kind of content should be created and how to. So if the user interface improvements help with that. I'm trying to figure out if the user testing, in which case it will show change improvements or something.
And I think that what typically happens during a user test is that the users make all sorts of comments that are out of scope for the particular issue. But of course, we already have a bunch of related issues. Um, and and even just one round of user testing can probably inform several of them. So I think the most contentious issue is um, media, which show up here. Um, again, that's not a group, it's just a single field type, and also show up under reference,
No, not directly.
not directly, but if you choose
But
other.
but
And,
in the contrib module we discussed last week and the week before, there it was under reference, that media override, if you remember.
right. So anyway, this is very contentious. We have our ideas, and I think we agree within this group. We have consensus, but we've had trouble convincing anyone else. And so user testing is really needed for that. So so even if we're doing user testing for the microcopy issue, we might get feedback on that question. And once they've set up one user test for this, I think it'll be easier to have a follow-up test for related issues. So let's hope we get some movement on this.
Yeah, but it would be also just helpful if some people familiar with Drupal just review the issue,
Oh
because they
yes,
could provide also feedback. So
certainly. Um, so we're a little more than halfway through the hour. Are there other issues we should discuss?
there were two issues 2 weeks ago, I guess, or 3 weeks ago, on the 10th of July. Godot is late posted one with make menu trail behavior in system menu block optional, and Daniel Weser also. I can post the two links. 1 second. Already on it. That is the first from Godot is late, and that is from Daniel Weser. Those are the two opens, and then yeah, from Estinet is the other one that came up. But I guess one of those two might be next in line.
Let me move this to the end of my browser window. And this one. And then I think I already have this in another tab, but so again, the two issues from a couple of weeks ago. Is this the right issue? 3529464. No.
4.6. Yeah, the make menu trail behavior in system block system menu block optional. That is the one from Godot is late.
Okay. So that's one. The other one from 3 weeks ago is that the layout builder revert to default's confirmation form, and similar forms do not nearly explain how destructive the operation is. Oh, I should really follow up on this one. I think I posted the comment and got a reply, and then I did not respond to that reply. Or maybe the reply was on Slack. Um, So let's leave this one to me. And Ralph, are, are which of these two would you like to talk about?
I think let's talk about the menu trail one because that's already longer on the list.
Okay.
So
So again, this is 352-9464.
I've quickly applied the merge request. I've posted the link in the chat for the
Yep,
share.
I have it. So let's look at it first in current behavior without a
Yeah,
patch. And before I lose that in my clipboard. So can you walk me through what it's about?
I haven't looked at it yet.
Ah,
I've just
okay. So system menus, system menu block implementation always adds the menu active trail. Oh, I remember. I have looked at this before. Um, including when all items are expanded. However, many themes don't actually use the menu active trail link information to change styling. So I guess this is, oh, and I'm still having trouble with your ngrok sites,
Hmm?
Ralph.
What?
Um, so I did look at this issue when it was first created. And I guess if we just look at the markup for this, oh, and I guess actually let me not look at the home page, but an inner page. Oh, someone should talk about accessibility in Umami. Um, read more. Data component ID is read more. It has an href, but it doesn't have anything. Oh, here's something that's visually hidden. Um, okay, it has a visually hidden skip the spirits with delicious mocktails. So the same as the title. But anyway, view article. So now let's look at the menu. Um, inspect that. Um, so anchor, let me edit it as HTML. That'll maybe be a little easier to read. Yes, it has a class. Um, I don't see the active trail indicator. So maybe this is not a menu block. Or maybe the Umami theme doesn't show it. Let's try switching the theme. So this may be a little weird.
I suppose the article is not in the menu, so it's just in the menu it's a listing page, but not the individual articles.
So I have to go up a level to see the active trail. Yeah, I guess you're right. All right, and I think the class is on the anchor element. Here we go, the isActive class. So that's a CSS class that gets added in the menu block, and it is helpful when the menu block is several levels deep. It indicates where you are in the navigation, and the current page and also the parents of the current page can get different styling. But the point of this issue is that um, many themes don't make use of that class, and it makes it harder to cache. So this is really an issue about performance. So the idea is to let the site builder toggle it on or off, and they can toggle it off to make it more cacheable. They can toggle it on if they plan to style it. So I asked a question, was it on the issue or was it in Slack? So since this issue does have the usability review tag, so I must have asked in Slack. I don't. Yeah. So let me see if I can find it in Slack.
It's on the 10th of July.
Yes, I see it.
And there's a comment.
Okay. So I asked, this issue is mostly about caching and performance, which are out of the usability scope. Are you just asking for a view of the changes to the config form? And the answer was yes. S. Musgrave asked for screenshots and the form UX review. I'll add a note to the issue summary under remaining tasks. So under remaining tasks, tagged for usability review of the block config form changes, screenshots below.
It's only the checkbox that got added. If you scroll down a little bit further, one more.
So when you select expand all menu links, there's progressive disclosure showing an additional option. So I guess they're asking us to review this interface text. I think if it only applies when menu links are expanded, then progressive disclosure makes sense. Any objections to that?
No objection.
So then how about the micro copy? Show the same menu markup on every page.
Isn't it rather use the same menu markup?
And then there's further text. And I think that I can't copy and paste the text from the screenshot, of course.
I can paste it. 1 second, I have it in my merge request.
but for the sake of the recording, I think it'll be easier if I go to the
Paste it in the chat.
so which file is it? Would not be under tests, it would be under source plugin block. It's probably this one. Okay, so here's the label, show the same markup on every page, and then the description is a little bit on the long side. When this is checked, the menu will have the same markup on every page. Otherwise, the current page's position in the menu structure will be calculated and an active trail class added to the menu links in the current page's menu hierarchy. And the default value, let's see, if it isn't set, then it will be empty. The default value will be true. So I think the default value is preserving the current behavior.
Do you mean the show the same menu markup is default checked?
Oh,
Because in my test here it is not.
okay. Well, did you install a new site after checking out the merge request, or did you have a site installed and then
I have the site installed and simply checked out the merge request.
okay. Then I guess I'm reading it backwards. So the default is to have it unchecked. So
Yeah.
that's okay, that would be preserving the current behavior.
Yeah, it's basically that one with the expand all menu links like in the screenshot on top checked, and the other one, the new one, unchecked. That is the state I saw it
Okay.
in.
So I have some thoughts about this interface text, but let me give you a chance first. Ralph, you suggested using use rather than show the same menu
Yeah.
markup on every page.
The markup you actually don't see as a user. So use would be more appropriate, and also the when this is checked, something like that I would strike, because you should
Right.
yeah.
So strike that.
Yeah. And the rest is quite hard to process and to wrap the head around.
All right. Simo, you haven't unmuted yourself, so I guess you don't have any strong opinions here. My opinion is that instead of saying show the same or use the same markup, we should reverse the option and say add an active trail class. Because it's sort of like the principle of saying what something does rather than saying what it does not do.
Yep.
And showing the same menu markup on every page just doesn't get the point across about, and you have to read the description text in order to get that. And I think that if we switched it around and made the option something like add add an active menu class as the title, and then
Explain what the purpose of that menu class is. Why would a user choose that option in the description?
So there's still some wordsmithing to do, but do you agree on the major change? I got a thumbs up from Ralph.
Yeah. So basically, we'd negate the negate the functionality so that it would be by default checked, and it would having it checked would add the active trail as it does now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have 5 minutes left.
Also, maybe note that since it's adding a class, it's on its own doesn't really do anything about accessibility because screen readers don't care about classes. So informing the screen reader user would be done by some other way than by that class.
I don't know. Is that something that we have to mention in
Now, just
the
noting that if it would change accessibility, that if we think it would, then we would just tag it on the issue. But I don't think it does change that.
Okay, and I wonder whether there is already something in the markup for the active menu trail. I don't see any ARIA attributes.
For active language, there is, but this is maybe not multilingual site.
ARIA current equals page. That I think that's related. And well, anyway, if there is anything, any accessible version of the isActive class, then presumably this issue also removes that for the sake of performance when the option is chosen. So just to have a text area available. Um, so this is the current text. And I would say add an active class. And should we keep it short or be more complete in the label of this option? And I guess the way to see the page in practice is not to look at the merge request, but to look at the site. And I guess appearance. Um, Not appearance. Is it under block layout? Oh, it's been so long since I've thought about that. If you place a menu block, Menu levels, expand all links. Okay, so if I had the merge request applied, this is where it would show up. So should I stop here, add an active trail class to menu links? Should I stop after the word class? Should I stop after links? Should I include the full version?
What is current page's menu hierarchy? So I'm thinking for me it would be more clear to have parents or ancestors or something like that.
Yeah,
I think the menu hierarchy is the whole thing, including the other branches as well.
Yeah, I agree. And hierarchy is sort of a fancy, complicated word. Parent is much simpler, and ancestor is sort of in between. But anyway, we're a little past the end of the hour. We don't have time to wordsmith this now, but I think we have consensus on the main change. So I will leave a comment on this issue, and either we can discuss it asynchronously over the week, or perhaps we can return to it next week.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Then have a nice weekend, everyone.
Yeah. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.